Hey,
Yeah.
how are
Hi.
you?
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
Good. How are you? I realized that I forgot to put the E at the end of your last name in that first post that I did.
Yeah, it happens.
So I apologize for that.
That's okay.
I fixed it in the second one, but I noticed after it had been up for a while, and I was like, well, I guess whatever. You had already shared it. I was like,
And I didn't look
damn
at it too close, apparently, so.
That's good. That's good.
Well, I mean,
I am.
you would assume that I would have it right. So
True.
but-
Although, to be honest, I
Yes.
usually check on it because I find, especially with emails or documents, if there's any sort of autocorrect, my name usually, the E is omitted. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
imagine there's like a plethora of emails that never got to
Oh,
you.
probably.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. My name is also bad for that. People often spell it wrong. Or, I mean, they say it wrong all the time, which I'm now just kind of like used to not really caring about. I mean, I say my own last name wrong.
Oh, really?
So I can't really reprimand other people. Yeah. I never was taught like the correct pronunciation because like my dad didn't really grow up speaking French because my
Right.
grandfather's like stepdad didn't really like allow French in the house.
Oh,
So because he was like an Anglophone, so he was sort of like, I know how to speak English, so we're all gonna stop speaking French now and we're gonna speak
Right.
English in the house.
and anglicize your
Oh.
names and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't. Whenever we have residents come that are French, I usually am like,
first off, they're very excited because Chrissy's last name is French.
Okay, so they're like, great, I'm going to have someone to talk
Yeah.
to.
yeah,
And then they're
I
immediately disappointed.
Yeah.
and then I let them down. So, and I've tried a lot. It's a hard language to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You're better at like Spanish than you are at French.
Oh, much better. Yeah, I'm even better at Japanese than I am at French.
Amazing.
Speaking of which, I do have one of our shares today is an artist from Quebec, so I'm going to destroy his name probably when I try to say it. But yeah, we're super excited to see
Yeah.
you and happy that you can be here. Can you tilt your camera down just
Yeah,
a
I
smidge
was
so
like
that when people
just
are
noticing
joining?
that like my face, I don't know if I actually can. Maybe it's going to try and better. Okay.
Yeah, that's better. We've tried to figure out if we can like swap places in this so that you could be on top and we could be on the bottom, but we
I don't
can't
know.
do it apparently.
I don't think so,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware.
It's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer because it'd be better if it was the other way around. But we're excited to have you, and like, yeah, it's super. This has been a really fun project for us.
Yes.
So, in case people don't know what this is, Kyle and I decided to start sort of reconnecting. At first, it was with printmakers because we know printmakers have like stacks of art hidden away in drawers. But yeah, reconnecting with some friends that had print shops and getting them to share art from their collections, and then we would share art from our collection. And then, yeah, we've been just trying to like branch out to just people that have been here with us or we've like done work project with that we really just like what they're doing and we want to reconnect in some way. So now it's digitally because we can't really have people here anymore for a little while anyway. So yeah, that's what the premise of Flat Files is. It's like a adult show and tell of art.
It's nice. I watched your other ones.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, cool.
So Claire, if you want to just like introduce yourself
Sure.
and maybe like a little bit about what you do, that would be awesome.
Okay, so Claire Browne, both ending with E's, first and last name. And yeah, I live and work in Toronto. I primarily kind of paint, also draw, and I have recently been dabbling again in printmaking. So yeah.
Little relief blocks.
Yeah.
super
So
fun.
those have been exciting to kind of continue my interest in kind of looking at the Caribbean, looking at kind of my familial heritage and the stories that surround that space, and yeah, just the experience of kind of living in a multi-heritage, racialized body, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know if you were planning on it, but it'd be great if you wanted to share one of those pieces because you are doing some fundraising through the sale. So just like make sure you do a little pitch of that.
Will do. I have
but...
her here.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Great. So yeah, we just kind of like bounce back and forth. So one of us shares something, then the other one, and until there's 3 shares or more. I mean, a lot of the artists that we talk to do more than 3, which we're completely fine with. We just we're gonna run out of work at some point here, so we are sharing 3 at most. And there's probably gonna be times where we share like art by the same person, just a different piece of art.
Yeah,
because,
you're gonna eventually. Yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can store in your house, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at how much we do have stored in our house. But we also have to find things that like are appropriate for the internet, because there are some things that we have that I'm like, I really like this piece. Is it weird to? Has a lot of swear words in it. Should I share that on Instagram? I don't know. We might get to that place.
Test the limits.
Yeah, or it's like this white on white piece, or we have like one artist that did this beautiful. It's like transparent text on like a beige paper. So when you are holding it in the light, you can see everything, but you know,
in Instagram light, it just reads as brown
paper.
paper.
Yeah, it just like looks like blank. Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried about our first share because like it is like various shades of white stacked on top of each other. And I'm hoping that with like we will figure out, we will get it.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Plus the whole text being reversed thing too. Like I chose a piece that has text, and I'm like, well, I'll just have to read it.
Yeah. Exactly. Would you like to begin, or would you like us to
Maybe you can begin and give me an example.
Sure. All right. So this is the name that I'm probably going to get wrong, and I'm very sorry, Pierre. This is going to be bad. So this is Pierre-Antoine Robitaille. I do not know how to say the last name. So I apologize. Actually, this is not looking too bad.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah. So he's primarily like a graphic designer, illustrator, living in Quebec. I believe in Montreal, but I could be wrong. That's where he was anyway. And so when he came to stay with us, he was like looking and working with a lot of screen print. So it seems like I would say a lot of even his like commercial work is sort of influenced by screen print. So that like action of layering, sort of the marks that are coming out when you are putting a lot of like flat color on like a textured paper. So this is a pretty like heavyweight paper. I don't know what kind of paper you're printing onto these days with the relief, but this paper is like almost like a cardstock. Like it's so
amazing.
Thick. And so there's a lot of like really good like textures that are coming out where the ink isn't like hitting the surface perfectly. And so even in his like digital works, he'll play around with like that kind of texture creation in those pieces because he like really enjoys that referencing. So this piece was actually when he was here. I think Leonard Cohen had like recently passed away. So this piece is called Mr. Cohen, and it's a little like ode to him. So he's sort of walking through this cityscape that's like wintry, and you know, sort of like void of color, and then he's just sort of this little pop of blue, the little Leonard Cohen shape down here. And a lot of his pieces sort of do this kind of like cut paper collage. It sort of reminds me, I have this book, I don't know when it's from, like maybe the 40s. And it's like, I think a craft book for kids that is all about like just doing collage with like cut pieces of tissue paper.
Okay.
But the collages in the book are so gorgeous, and they're
made by adults.
Yeah, because they're made by adults. So they kind of look like this, yeah. And every time I look at it, I'm trying to imagine like you would be like, here's the pile of shapes with the colors that I selected and cut out for you. Now you can take those and make this image that has already been pre-described, because I don't know how you could possibly have kids make the things that are the examples in these books. They're like fantastic.
Because it's a very sophisticated way to think about laying out visual forms to just layer very light shapes. Like, I don't think every child's gonna be like, yes, I intuitively know how to make an image.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like every arts and craft project we've done with our nieces.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they get
Sometimes
it in a
they're
way
okay.
that you were not expecting,
Yeah.
and that's very exciting. But like this, where it's like the layers are all the same ink, just letting one shape like space dry and then going over top to create what looks like windows and maybe signage, and yeah, I just really love it. Actually, you know what? It looks better on Instagram than I was imagining.
Yeah. It's
So-
impressive, like as you said, since it's white ink, that it's showing up really, really well. And you can actually
Yeah.
see the subtlety of the different shades there.
I know. So yeah, that's our first share. We really like, yeah, his work is really fun. We have a few others of his that are also just kind of like monochromatic layering of forms and just playing with transparencies.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Love it.
share numero uno.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy. What's your first share? I'm excited.
First share. So I decided to share some prints that I got recently. Yeah. So
Recent prints from where? The
from
internet?
the internet. Yes, from
Okay.
artists that I know or follow on Instagram. So I recently just got in the mail my Tiny Blades project print.
Whoa.
And isn't this just lovely?
That is lovely.
Yeah.
This is speaking my language.
Yeah.
A little bit of isometric things going on. This is a sweet little print.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly, yeah, it would be right up your alley, I'll admit, Kyle. Yeah, it's just like a really nice just drawing in and of itself. And I really liked it a lot. Yeah.
So who's the artist?
So her Instagram and kind of everything that she uses to kind of, I guess, denote herself is Tiny Blades Project.
Yeah.
So
Hard eyes.
she has done a lot of work of like cutting out images that look like this, but out of construction paper or just like paper with an X-Acto knife. And then
Okay.
she also makes prints that are the same sort of idea of these really nice geometric drawings. But I would certainly check her out. Like, the paperwork is insane.
I love that your first one sort of has like a link to like collage and layering paper as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Like, I was listening to you
Yeah.
speak, and I'm like, okay, this could be a good
I'm
segue.
thinking the same
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, they're usually like really interested in like spatial relations and especially with like the paper cuts, trying to like make something look like a 3D form when you're just working with paper. They look incredible.
That is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I like that a lot. I like how there's sort of these like entries into other spaces
Yeah.
that like you're like maybe that doorway leads to nothing, or maybe if I walk
For
through there's
sure.
a whole other scene going on in there.
I
Yeah, I
know.
really like that a lot.
It's so cute.
Is that like a little graph? The one thing kind of looks like a graph.
Ooh, like this kind of,
In kind of center middle.
yeah. It definitely, yeah, a good reference to the grid. And it also makes me think of like digital like spaces or like games where you need to like build spaces. A little
Yes,
Simsy.
Yes. A little Simsy. Yeah, totally. I went through like a Sims phase not too long
Oh,
ago.
really? Like recently?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, maybe I'll play. I'm not like a super gamer.
Me either.
person. And so I was like, maybe I'll try to find a game that I would like. But I ended up just like cheating and getting like
Getting a
doing the
cheat
like
code?
hash code,
I think that's how you play the Sims.
and then
Is
and
your
then like
first
just
rule
speeding
set.
through the days, being like, okay, let's just get through this day, and then like I could fight or something, which I felt sort of like defeated the purpose. So now I'm trying Animal Crossing,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like really hardcore for a little bit. Now I've gotten sort of lazy.
Back
And
in
all
the
my-
day when I had a Nintendo DS, we had Animal Crossing. But I never, I don't know, I didn't get really into it. I never stuck with video games for very long. Like, I would try it out, would be interested, and then I would rather make something. I don't know. It didn't feel permanent enough doing a video
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I like that share a lot. That's really nice. I also love that you're buying work online, right?
Yeah.
That like makes me feel very happy.
Ready for share 2?
Share number 2. All right. So
Okay.
this one we're gonna need some close up. Yeah. Is it better with the light off or the
Yeah,
light
it's not
on?
blasted out.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is a like watercolor painting sort of sketch, and this is by Lucie Chan. And Lucy, if you watch this, I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. This was a piece that she had sent to us in the mail as like part of a letter, and I have been sort of careful not to show some of the work that we get in more of a, I don't know. I guess in my mind, like when something comes as like a letter form, I feel like it's more intimate or something. Or if it's like left in our guest book, I feel weird about sharing it. But I really love Lucy's work, and this is the only piece that I could find of hers that we had, and so I would rather share something than not share her work at all. This is the hard thing too, right? Is we've had so many people here, we don't necessarily have everybody's actual art.
Yeah.
So we're sharing the work by the people that we have things from. But anyway, so Lucy is an artist in BC, and she stayed with us a couple of years ago now in the winter for a few months, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, so her work is really interesting because it's very collaborative. So she will do these like interview processes with usually community members, so non-artists. I mean, I guess sometimes they're artists. Some of the people that came and did the interviews here are artists, but they weren't like participating in like a creator sort of way. And she'll do these interviews with them, and generally speaking, I think they're fairly informal. Like she has some questions that she wants to sort of address, but like it's not like a formal interview in any capacity.
So far away.
And so she takes those interviews, and they're usually about like culture. They're about like where you're from, how you relate to other people. Sometimes it's about like putting yourself in someone else's shoes and trying to like see from someone else's perspective. Sometimes the questions are about like, how do you move from one emotional state to another? Like, what are your coping strategies, or like, what systems do you have in place to help yourself shift from maybe like a dark place to a happy place? So it's a lot about like sort of connecting emotion, feeling, but also like place and heritage and that sort of thing. And then she'll take those stories and she'll create drawings, installations, and animations, and she tries to find the connection between everybody. So she'll sort of find like a part of everyone's story that's like related to one another's, so that it's, I mean, for me, it's like looking at how, even though everybody is unique and everyone's an individual, you know, there are these sort of like shared moments that can draw people together. Yeah. So a lot of this is like very indicative of like her style of working. So they're super layered. There's like figurative pieces amongst like kind of like a more abstracted space. And then in like the installations, it's really cool because she'll like cut elements out so that it feels very like floaty, and then little animations will sometimes happen within the installation. So they're not like, you know, just a screen with an animation playing. It might be like a whole collection of drawings with like an animation like happening within the scene, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she'll have other people read other people's stories. So I read a story by someone who had collaborated with her that I didn't write, which feels a little weird when you're doing it. Like I felt kind of invasive for me to be reading this person's story, but it's part of her practice to sort of take someone's story, retell it in another way, then retell it again. So anyways, yeah, her work is really interesting and just very beautiful, and I guess we're sort of on this like monochrome tangent.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
We are on a
Yeah.
monochrome.
Yeah, that's so beautiful and delicate, again, because of that watercolor. the layered elements are just stunning. And they're able to almost like become a part of the background environment just in the way that they've been painted.
I know, exactly.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And what a nice, like, sweet sized painting. Like, it's a little treasure.
It is a little treasure. I know, I really I love it a lot.
Yeah.
It's like such a beautiful thing to like get in the post and open up and be like, oh,
Yeah,
this is like a labor of love that I just got.
definitely. Yeah, and even with that description, like, yeah, all of those figures look so, like, emotionally invested in that interaction right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's incredible,
check
though.
her work out.
Just to think of, like, as you said, like, the sharing of stories, and that there quite often can be through lines or at least threads of connection that you can tie together, that they may not look the same, but they have perhaps like an underlying essence that can be grabbed upon and relatable.
I think the other thing too is like I feel like that's why people love storytelling so much, is that it allows you to garner some perspective on someone else's space and how they're living and what they feel and what they've seen and how they've seen it in relation to how you've seen it. And so reading the piece that I read for her, it was written by an Indigenous woman, which I did ask her to ask permission for me to read it because I felt really like I should not be reading this. And it was hard to read.
Yeah.
I felt so many emotions reading that piece. It took, I don't even know how many takes I ended up doing until I finally was like, okay, this is the one. But I also was very grateful for the opportunity to participate in that project.
Yeah. And I think even as you're talking about it, like, the act of sharing stories is old as time for human beings, and it's definitely like the way that we're able to relate and communicate just any type of basic information. And I think it, as you're even saying it, to then share someone else's story is exceptionally personal and kind of potentially invasive, perhaps, because you're voicing and breathing life into a reality that you're asking everyone else to step into, and that's a big ask.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely.
So it's a big ask to be please put life into my lived experience or my reality, especially if you're not walking in it yourself day to day. But I do think that to just even be able to hear someone else's story at least gives you the opportunity to try and imagine that experience or embodying it, or try to at least understand and be able to map onto that reality if you can.
That is exactly how that's how this project felt to me. And also just she is the most gracious and loving and kind. She's just such an empathetic person. That she just felt like the right kind of person to be sort of the carrier of this dialogue. If that makes any sense. But so all right, Claire, what's your next show and tell? So if there's new people on here, we are sharing artwork with Claire Browne, who is I would say visual artist, because you do sort of work in a lot of different visual techniques in Toronto.
So we might be switching gears slightly. I have a print that I purchased from Kayla Witt. And so it is a silk screen. It has text on it, which is what I was kind of describing. I'm going to have to read it.
I'm pretty sure she printed that here.
Ooh.
Or maybe she printed it in Toronto, but she's done a lot of prints here.
Okay, so then
a lot.
There could be a connection then to your space, potentially.
Talking about true things.
The top says you can now have the figure of an over easy egg, diet frozen pizza, the vote, the stay-at-home dad, the vibrator, the self-driving car, the diet frozen pizza. A re-envisioning of domestic gender roles. So,
Yes, Kayla is the best.
yeah, I saw that she was having a sale because I think she's moving out of Guelph, I think. Anyways, I might be mixing up her and someone else, but regardless, she's moving.
No, I'm pretty sure she's moving. So yeah, I think you're right
so I
about
think
that.
she's either done or just wanting to move because I know she's doing her Master's of Fine Art, and
Yeah,
I could not pass up on this. It's so amusing.
it's so good. Yeah, her work is really wonderful. Her paintings are incredible.
Yeah, they
I
are
love them.
incredible, especially in person, seeing her paintings because they are so detailed. They're so thought out in terms of what's included in these just funny visual situations. And then obviously highly interested in just feminist ideas and discourse around gender and
Yes.
traditional ideas of where women should or shouldn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so funny though. I saw that she had this for sale, and I had to purchase something because I've admired her work for a long time, and especially with things that are on paper, it can sometimes be a little more accessible than trying to find space and also money to buy an entire painted masterpiece, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. We have one of Kayla's pieces, and it's been in our pile of maybe this time, but we have one that's a bit more provocative.
Ooh, okay.
Because she has some pretty provocative work, and it's been one of the ones where we're I do want to show this
Yeah.
one.
Which one are you thinking about? I was actually going to pull Kayla's print out today to show.
The gas mask.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Okay. Is it the one where she's hunched over a kitchen counter? Or am I thinking
It's sort of are you gonna grab
yeah.
it? It's sort of cropped out, so it's two people wearing gas masks, but it's part of sort of that more sexuality based thread, and less in the domestic good products. Because she's done in that series, she did some really good ones where it was Windex or Comet,
Exactly.
Different cleaning products that she's rebranded. But we also have some pieces of hers that are fake advertising for Crocs.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know where they are. They might be in the outside studio. But,
yeah, and even her sculpture work that again runs more in the sexuality.
BDSM
Exactly.
Sort of, yeah.
But mixed with vegetables, which was for whatever reason very amusing.
They're so good.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking of the larger painting context, but I like this one too. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, so this is sort of a pulled out of that painting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hi, Claire.
Getting some love. It's the Claires.
Yeah, actually, we went to school together, and we were in a number of classes. So yeah, we were both Claires.
Both first name and last name ending with E.
Yes. And I guess arguably her last name could also be a color description. So,
Yeah. Interesting.
You're pretty much the same person, right?
Oh my gosh. All right. Technically, Kayla wasn't our third. But...
No, but I was gonna pull that. It's funny because you brought her up. That was actually on the stack of prints. I was like, maybe another day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then he pulled out the frozen pizza one. I was like, okay.
Well, I've been trying to find the Crocs ones because they're so funny.
I know which ones you're talking
The
about. I don't know
messaging
what
that
they
she
are.
has in them they're just so funny. I don't know. She's hilarious.
She is
really
hilarious, and she's just even just as a human, funny.
Yeah. She's awesome. So yeah, this is our actual last share.
Ooh.
So this is, maybe a little self-indulgent because it's a print of our shop, but
But it's monochrome. Sorry.
done by artist Katie Green. She's living in Barrie, I think, still.
Yeah, she lives in Barrie. It's funny. She stayed with us
Here, I'll hold
a
this.
year and a half ago.
Okay.
2 years ago.
Maybe
Can't
more.
remember when.
I don't know. Time. Maybe
But like
this
in
has
a
date.
weird, like I grew up in Barrie,
2018.
and we came to the conclusion that Katie babysat one of my best friends,
Oh,
like down the street from where I grew up.
small world.
And so it was like kind of like, hey, this is like the print world's really small,
Yeah.
and maybe like Ontario's even smaller. This is just a small world.
Yeah. But she did a lot of like really beautiful pieces while she was here, and she looks mostly at like architecture and again, like kind of looking at place. So I did think about you a little bit too when we were like thinking about what to bring out, because your work is so much about
Yeah.
place and like talking about history and like the buildings and architecture and landscape that make a place. And so we might show another piece of hers later down the road. It's a coloring book.
Oh.
But it's all kind of in this like very
She does what I wish I could do, which is like just sit outside and look at a building, and then confidently in one line illustrate that
Yeah.
building. And I just can't do that. So like while she was here, she had like a moleskin, and like it would just be pages of these like really wonderful line drawings.
That's amazing, especially as you're saying, like, to just be able to sit down and just confidently make image after image.
yeah I don't have
I
that.
can't do that. I have to belabor everything in Photoshop, and like like I can't do it.
Or do a few trial runs.
But-
yeah.
But yeah, she has a very like sweet style that's like approachable. I think that sometimes it's nice to have work that you feel like, okay, this could be like an introduction too for like people that maybe are like a little like, oh, printmaking, I don't know what that means. And you're like, it means this. It doesn't have to be intimidating. It can be
Black and white.
accessible. So it was mostly screen print, but she also was doing these like really like, I don't know, like this. This is not helpful. What is this size, Kyle?
2 feet.
2 feet by maybe like a foot and a half.
Okay.
Woodcut carvings
Oh.
when she was here too. And they were like quite a bit more like ornate. So it was like buildings, like think like an old theater. So there's a lot more like lights and sort of like detailed elements and art. I don't know anything about architecture, but like parts of a building, like moldings and that sort of thing. So yeah, they were really quite stunning. This was more like a sketch, a little more like playful.
Yeah.
But she has been working, and I don't know too much about it. It's just like it's popped up quite a bit on my Instagram feed, but she's been working on like a handkerchief mail project. So where like she's like printing onto these like handkerchiefs, and then it's like part of like a mailing
Oh, neat.
project. So that sounds really interesting. Maybe if I'll check out her Instagram when we share a post about her, and I'll see if I can find one that has like more details, and I'll share that with the stories after
Yeah.
this, because it sounded really interesting when I sort of like poked my nose into it a little bit.
Yeah,
But-
definitely.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, I would love to know more on that specifically, because it sounds like an interesting
Mhm.
project to be taking on.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, it was
Mailing things,
good to
though.
see even just like a picture of the print studio. Because it's been a long time since I would have seen the space.
I know.
Yeah. I think it'll
Yeah,
be
it has
it'll
been.
be 4 years this summer.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That seems impossible.
It does, yeah. I was, even when knowing that I was going to be speaking with you today, I was like, when was it that I was in your little house? And I actually had to look back, and I saw 2016. I was like, that can't be right.
Apparently it is.
Yeah, apparently.
I just had this wave of pain of fear when you're like 4 years ago. And I was like, oh no, is COVID gonna be like that? Like, like the last time I hung out with you was like 4 years. It's like, oh, I don't like that, because it's been like what, 4 or 5
I
months
know.
now.
And
like it can so quickly stack up.
yeah, time is just
But I gotta
creeping
think about that.
away. I mean, it is bizarre to be
Yeah.
like, we're in July already.
I asked Chrissy, is like, you know, like, it's like our friend's Jenny Michael coming down in July? And like, she's like, Kyle, it is July. I was like,
Yeah.
oops. I thought it was June.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, for whatever reason, having to write down the date. And, well, even when exchanging emails with you about this and realizing, oh, July 10th. We're fully in July at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know. It's best not to think too hard about time.
It is, and I don't know, and it isn't at the same time. So I think I try to ignore it. But then the time keeps slipping by. And then next thing you know, the whole month's gone. And what do I have to show? And the usual markers of time are also gone since I'm not going out the way I would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
for us, definitely.
It's very weird.
Or like the only markers of time that we have is like this event that happened this month. This one single event.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And it's even weirder if they're like in a virtual realm, because I still find myself kind of being like, all right, so I don't know, it doesn't have the same type of presence, but it at least is something that you can like add to your calendar, and it keeps you somewhat regulated about where I am.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this like Friday thing is nice. It's like, okay, in another week, and then another week. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's helpful. All right, what's your last
Okay, my
share?
last share is
I'm
myself.
excited. Yeah.
My last share is so I had actually started making this print, I think, possibly in a year and a half, or maybe it was 2 years ago, but a
Nice.
relief print. So kind of went back to, I don't know, high school, elementary, when you learn how to carve out a lino block. And yeah, I was working from an image that I took when I was in St. Vincent of, I think it's a Catholic church, but a church when I was there. And yeah, I was initially just thinking about the barriers that exist on the island, or just to certain types of spaces in general. And then kind of filed this away. For like, was thinking kind of, yeah, just about the fact that I didn't have a lot of access, or sometimes when you're in the space, there are places that just don't always feel comfortable to go exploring in, because like maybe you're trespassing a little bit on someone else's, you know, space of worship, and who am I to go in there and poke about. So yeah, then obviously we're in isolation, and I, for the last little while, have been trying to organize a little bit my studio space, and kind of make it more usable again. And I stumbled across this piece, and it was right around the height of when I and everyone else were really having to sit and really digest and think about the fact that Black people globally, but certainly definitely in colonial spaces, are just still living with such deep barriers and issues that are at systemic levels. Like, they're just ingrained in the space, and that this exists for, you know, lots of people who are visual minorities. So yeah, I stumbled across this again and was just thinking, like, it hit me so deeply that I had made this piece about feeling like there were physical barriers, or even just invisible barriers of culture, or even in the case of a church, like of hierarchy. And so I thought it was important to share the work again. And in sharing it, I really wanted to make sure that it was addressed and tied to the fact that this piece is about the barriers that are still experienced by Black people. And so with each sale of this print, I am donating 20% of that to Black Women in Motion. And that's a Toronto organization. It's one of the only organizations that actually advocates for gender-based violence survivors, and also kind of just provides a lot of mental health resources for women and femme identifying person. So, yeah.
Nice. That's wonderful.
And I,
And what's the edition size?
ooh,
Or are you making it sort of infinite?
no, so there are 8 that exist in this, just black on white, white paper. And then I have another 8, though some of them have sold at this point, that I had kind of drawn into with pencil crayon. So they are kind of existing as unique prints in and of themselves. So
Right.
yeah. But
That's
there were just
awesome.
8 of these babies that I made. So they are an exceptionally limited edition. But yeah.
Yeah, that's very...
Very
No, that's such
Yeah.
a nice comment that I don't know if you saw that,
Oh.
Claire, but there's like, it says, so happy to see you speaking about your work, proud of
Oh,
you.
thank you.
So, yeah, that's awesome. That is, yeah, that's like wonderful project. And also the print is really nice.
Thank
Claire.
you.
Oh my gosh, how do I make it so that
We'll
these...
just like get another little quick peek-see at him. But yeah, when I had made the
the
print,
way
I
you're
was really
dealing with
pleased.
the clouds too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I love the sort of cut out quality of it. So it doesn't have this like hard border all
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Which I think like nicely complements your like conversation about it too.
Ooh, I didn't even think about
Me
that.
either.
Yeah,
Look at you
just,
really like delving into the layers
Art
of
school in this?
No, but I think
That's where my
when
brain
I was
goes. You know, like there's this hard edge on the bottom where the building is, but then above it there's this freedom of space and openness to the way that it's construction. How do I make all of this like not be over top of? No, cancel. I don't want to report anybody. I don't know. There's right now the comments are like covering the whole bottom screen, and I don't know how to make it stop doing that.
Okay.
Like in the like
Maybe I'll
who's
just
joined on.
do a little floating moment. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like, I think that when you're like creating work to like, especially like where you're contributing some back, it's nice to have like a print be the object, because then you can have those multiples.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know, I think like you said, like ordering something that's paper seems more like accessible. One, I even think like shipping wise, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel as like daunting
Crazy,
and
no.
intimidating from both
I
parties,
think so.
the artist and the buyer. But then you have this like liberty to make more, to keep selling and putting back into that that donation cycle. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even as you're kind of touching on it, like it is kind of a both sides element quite often when it comes to, well, how do I get the work? Especially with like painting and things like that. Like there's obviously ways of shipping things to a collector, but it sometimes can just be a matter of like a hurdle of understanding how that functions. Whereas, to the idea of shipping paper, I think is more reasonable to most people, and just more accessible in general. And I wanted to make sure that it was something accessible, but also equally, this piece was important that I share it at this time.
Yeah. I think that about all of your pieces, though. This one definitely, but like the work that you were doing here, I thought was like very similar in the like vein of conversation. So yeah, I just think like the work that you do is really great.
Thank you. I was thinking back on my time when I was at Sparkbox, and it definitely did result in me creating or at least beginning the creation process for pretty well all of the paintings I think I made in 2016. Whether it be that I actually started them there, or I may have just done like drawings for paintings while I was there. So
yeah. You're working fairly small recently. Is that mostly like because of the studio that you're working in, or have you just decided that you like small scale better?
I don't prefer small scale, but okay. So the small scale started, I think, just as probably a method of just making sure I could finish something. I think there was kind of an element of just wanting to finish. I had plans before January to dive headfirst into making some new larger pieces. They've kind of fallen onto the back burner because I, to be honest, during isolation, I wasn't feeling super creatively engaged. Yeah, and it was just difficult, I think, to like want to go back to yeah, like going through the emotional trenches with making big work when just every day the news was intense. And then things only got more intense as the months got on. And then, yeah, again, trying to like digest the level of just brutality and violence that people are experiencing when you're not even like, and I mean, again, not to say that it should be the case, but I mean, to think that you would be in a peaceful protest or in a country that's not in the state of war, and yet you are having to prepare yourself to leave the house as if you might be entering the battlefield. It was just like mentally a lot to try and take in, and yeah, I think all of us are probably still trying to digest the reality of the world that we exist in. And I think I also have existed, like many of us, at least in a bubble of ignorance that everyone else maybe shares at least the same sorts of mentalities that I do. And we really have to shake up the notion that everyone else is going to share your viewpoint, because that's not the case, right? So
yeah, no, 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
I think like right now I've been spending a lot of time sort of diving into like the role that art spaces play and the giant gaps in representation, looking back through our applications of the past to see like who is applying and where are the gaps in that.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that like, I mean, it's not like something that's like new to us to be talking about or thinking about, which is like, I think it's more just like that. Why is it not new?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think that's,
I don't know how to phrase
I
that
guess
better, but
if I'm understanding, yeah, what you're saying, it's just a matter of like looking around yourself and asking like, why are things the way that they are, or how have I become complacent with what's happening around me? And I think it's easy for anyone to kind of just like walk through the world and be like, this is just how it is. But sometimes like, yeah, you need to just maybe reframe it and ask, well, why is it like this? Even if things seem okay, I think there's still always digging and unpacking that needs to happen with anything, of like what
100%.
barriers exist there that you didn't see before, or how can things be made more accessible to more people. And even if you don't understand what someone may be requesting as being a method of making it more accessible, even just asking like, okay, well, like, what can I do for you, and like, why would that be helpful? Yeah, I think people need to be more curious, to be honest.
I think so too, and like open to just like hearing.
Yeah,
things.
yeah, just hearing things.
Like,
and even if you don't get it, like just asking and staying curious instead of being like, I don't get that, therefore I'm gonna just ignore it and move on.
Yeah. And do you still have family? I think this is a yes, but I kind of can't remember. In the Caribbean?
So at this point, I still have my aunt who lives in the Caribbean, and I have a cousin. So in terms of my kind of most direct family that I engage with, It'd be
Yeah.
my aunt and my cousin. Yeah.
And has the virus been impacting them
So my news about kind of COVID and how it's affecting the Caribbean is primarily through my dad talking to my aunt.
Okay.
But from my understanding, like it hasn't ravaged the island in the way that we have. But
there? Right.
I think when I had been there, I'd mentioned like St. Vincent didn't have an international airport until a couple years ago. So tourism as a staple of the economy isn't really as big of a factor as compared to maybe some of the
Right.
other islands it might have been. So I think it helped that you didn't have like planefuls of people back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think they might not have any cases too much anymore on the island, and I don't think it really was too bad. But yeah,
good.
especially since like there's already different natural phenomenon that they have to worry about year in and year out. So you just don't want a place that doesn't have the infrastructure to be hit with that. Because I mean, a lot of the hospitals are like located in one space, or you'd have to drive like an
Yeah.
hour or and also too, like a lot of people don't have cars of their own, and there's a lot of like public transit that's primarily used, and like the public transit's a little more community based. So
Right.
yeah, just to try and think of how we're handling COVID here. You can't really map that onto a nation that's kind of just designed in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The structures of a lot of the different elements in the public space are just not the same as they are here.
No. And
Yeah.
and certainly like there's a lot of like just everyone coming to the main city day in and day out, probably, that it just it would be really difficult to, I think, ask everyone to stay at home, because like I doubt that even 20% of people's jobs could be like online the way that they are here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that your fam away is doing well.
Yeah,
and
they are doing well.
good. And hopefully your family in Canada is also doing well. I know Toronto, their numbers are going down.
Their numbers
so,
are
like,
going down.
That's
and
great.
I mean, I still have my mom's side who live kind of closer to where you are. So
yeah. We're good.
exactly.
here
Like things
right
are
now.
pretty
So,
chill
we touch
out
all of the
in
wood.
Eastern
Yeah.
Ontario. So
I mean, we still are pretending like we can't leave the house ever, and I don't really go anywhere and do anything. But
it's kind of.
it definitely.
I mean, I don't know if even if I was outside of Toronto, I would want to be driving everywhere and trying to like kiss all my friends.
yeah.
So
No, thank you.
yeah, it's because as you said, like, or I think you might have mentioned this on one of your previous flat files, but just trying to even transition mentally from being asked to not go near people to stay in your home and to go through all these levels of precaution, and then one day to be told like it's fine, go out, live your life
Yeah.
again. And it's like, oh, but I don't know if I remember how.
No, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
bit weird.
it's gonna be a. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be.
And
like. I'm just like
even
one. Every day I
yeah.
will take it just day by
And
day.
every day I have to ask myself, like, is this worth it? Is
Yeah.
this like, I don't know. You don't know.
100% agree. But this was worth
This
it.
was, yeah.
Chatting with you. Transition.
Yeah, it was so
I-
good
I,
seeing
like,
your faces.
really- Same. I mean, I like definitely am always seeing what you're doing
Same.
online, but to like hear your voice and chat with you is really
Yeah, to hear your voice and have it actually be directed in to me was nice. It was a
Yeah.
treat.
Yeah, I agree. Well, one day when we have our space open again, hopefully we can have you back and you can be
Mhm.
painting beautiful, bright, like scenes that make me want to like just be outside in the sunshine. and enjoying environments. Because yeah, I really love that.
Definitely.
So-
I know, it would be nice to be
And
back.
thanks so much for
You're
sharing.
welcome.
And I think that project is great. I'm so glad you're doing it, and I'm so glad that you like shared that story and like make a space for your work to be personal, but also contributing to like a much bigger conversation. So yeah.
Thank you for the invite.
Yes. Have a wonderful weekend, and everybody else also have a great weekend, and we'll see you back
Next week.
here next week to have another chat.
Bye.
Bye.